Well, hello there. Hello there. Just was talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, if anybody doesn't know, uh, good start today talking about Star Wars instead of hockey right off the bat. There, I needed to silence my phone. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of NHL Weekly here on the Ethernet Community Hockey page. Whoa. I just bashed my chair into my desk there and almost shot everything right off the wall. Whoopsies. Try starting that again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the NHL Weekly Show here on the Ethernet Community Hockey page with your host, yours truly, Andrew Smith. Today, week 5, we are over a month into the season. Into the start of month 2 of hockey here in the 2022-2023 season. November 12th is actually today. I'm doing this on time. And we're going to get right into the news. That news being that there were JMO shows that were supposed to go out this last week, but unfortunately I was a little emotionally unavailable. As some of you who know me personally know that I have some issues that I work with on a daily basis, but if you don't know who I am, but you know anybody that tries to work through anxiety, depression, and other things, mental disabilities and stuff like that, and it's difficult. It's very hard, I will say, and unfortunately those 2 videos didn't go out this last week, but hopefully we'll be able to get those 2 out this week, that being the first 10 games for for this season, as well as the second episode being the first 10 games for each NHL reigning Stanley Cup champion team. So for instance, for the 2021-2022 Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche, we'd be looking at this season, the 2022-2023 season's first 10 games. Holy crap, that took a long time to get through. Some other interesting news things. I know that we've got some big milestones that a couple players have gone through this last week. Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, and McDavid obviously continuing to aspire greatness. And it's just it's difficult to listen or talk about hockey without introducing one of those 3 or a couple other specific people into the mix. So with that being said, I think we are ready to shoot on over to our other page and start getting into the week that was. And I believe I'm actually going to bring up a different page first, but let me move on over here. So let's get this page going. Zoomed in as far as I can without being too crazy. I'm gonna see if there's anything I can do to cut out up here and down here so that we just get this nice piece right here. But until then, this is what we've got to work with. I just wanted to show you guys, this is my log of every single game this season. I wanted to show you guys this because I couldn't remember if I had showed it to you guys before. I'm pretty sure I have, but this is just the best way for me to be able to figure out games played and all that kind of stuff. In between the solid bars there, you can see the solid bars there, and there. Is a week that was. We've got everybody has officially played at least 10 games. We'll take a look at that, as well as showing inside of each week 2 losses and a win. But one thing I wanted to highlight was some of these very interesting runs that we're on currently. Calgary with just a few losses. We had Boston with just a couple wins, with a loss in there in between them. New Jersey doing pretty dang well. The Islanders were doing really good there for a little while. And then obviously Vegas has not lost since Game 6, and they're at Game 15 currently. And then there was somebody else who has had quite a few losses as well. St. Louis went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then finally got that win. And then Vancouver obviously was not doing great to start out the season, but is actually doing respectably since then, only losing one game outright and picking up 2 points in the other two. So they're starting to climb. They're starting to climb back into it. They're doing their best. So yeah, if we plug all those numbers, plug all of these wins and losses into our very first column here. Let's zoom down to it. You guys are getting a pretty hefty behind-the-scenes look today on everything. Nothing wrong with that. But this is our Week 5 stats for last Saturday until yesterday. So we've got a couple teams to look at: the Arizona Coyotes, LA Kings, New Jersey Devils, and Vegas Golden Knights, all with 3 wins and I believe 0 losses for each of them as well. Yep. And then a couple teams, Buffalo and Calgary, with no wins this last week. Pretty rough. Calgary with 4 games, no wins, no points at all in the last week for those two teams. It's going to be really difficult. Them, Chicago, Ottawa to get back into the groove of things. When we look at division standings, specifically. I don't want to scroll over that way because I don't want to spoil what's to come. But let's see, where are those teams that we were talking about? Calgary, Buffalo, Chicago, and Ottawa. Calgary, Buffalo. So there's Calgary, Buffalo, Chicago, Ottawa is somewhere. There they are, Buffalo and Ottawa, yeah, and yeah, those teams are, and obviously Chicago was doing well for a while, but this last week did not do them any favors. So if we're taking a look at the culmination of all 5 weeks so far in the season, we've got Boston, Florida, and Detroit at the top of the Atlantic. Toronto, Tampa, Montreal, Buffalo, and then Ottawa rounding out that division. The Metropolitan, we got New Jersey, Carolina, and New York Islanders in the top 3, and then the Rangers, Flyers, Capitals, Penguins, and Blue Jackets rounding out the rest of the Eastern Conference. And then the Western Conference Central Division, we've got Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado, and then Minnesota, Arizona, Chicago, Nashville, and St. Louis. And then in the Pacific, we've got Vegas, LA, Seattle, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, San Jose, and Anaheim. If we take the two divisions and we mush them together to put together our wild card, we've got Boston, Florida, and Detroit, and then New Jersey, Carolina, and New York Islanders. And then in the wild card in the East, we've got New York Rangers and Toronto. Couple teams tied with 16 right behind everybody, and then 15 all the way down to Ottawa and Columbus, who haven't even hit double digits yet, and we're 5 weeks into the season. Each of those teams have played 13 games. Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado, Vegas, LA, and Seattle in the top 3 positions in the Central and Pacific. In the wild card, we've got Edmonton, Minnesota, and then below is Arizona, Chicago, Calgary, Nashville, Vancouver, San Jose, Anaheim, and St. Louis. Anaheim and St. Louis being the teams that are not into double digits yet. Anaheim 14 games, the other two 13, and then obviously St. Louis with 12. Not great so far for those 4 teams. So if we mash both divisions together, we get the league as a whole. Let's start at the bottom here. Columbus, those 4 teams that we talked about, Columbus, St. Louis, Anaheim, and Ottawa with under 10 points. And then we've got a bunch of teams tied with 16, 17, 18 points. But at the top, we've got Vegas, 26 points in 15 games. Boston, 24 points in 14 games. New Jersey, 22 points in 14 games. And then everybody else below that 20 point mark. Obviously, those 3 teams at the top really starting to pull ahead, especially when you look at them. Not looking at that yet. If we look at them in their divisions specifically, we've got Vegas with 20, and the next best is Edmonton with 14. Boston 20, with the second best being Buffalo. That's week 5. Sorry. Boston with 20, next best Florida was 17, Detroit was 17, and Toronto was 17, I believe. And then New Jersey Devils with 22. Next best is Carolina with 19. And so the Metro, I believe, would be the most for parity wise. It's the best when it comes to all of these teams being pretty close together, especially these ones, and then even more especially these guys. But obviously, Columbus being there. I guess if we are talking teams that are divisions that are the closest, it would be the Central, considering we've got 2 with 17, 2 with 15, 2 with 13, and then obviously Nashville and St. Louis at the bottom there, and then a 7-point spread between Vegas and LA, and then everybody else is pretty close behind. Now, it looks like the hardest hit team this last week would be Buffalo, moving down 12 spaces, and LA moving up 9 would be the best for moving up. And then if we take a look at, actually, this stat here, which was the first 10 game spread there, we're not gonna go into that in too much detail because that will be a JMO show episode. So let's go down to here. This is the 10 previous games as of the final game that each team played this last week. So some of them being yesterday, Friday the 11th, and then obviously if any teams played past that point. First 10 games of the season. It would have been smart for me to have highlighted some numbers here, but if I take a real quick look, we've got Boston and Vegas with 18, and then 16 points for New Jersey, 15 for Winnipeg, 14 for Seattle, 14 for the Islanders. That's going to be the best. And then for the worst, for the first 10 games, St. Louis with only 4 points. Far and away the worst. After that, it would be Calgary, Anaheim, Nashville, Ottawa there as well. So yeah, Seattle, or St. Louis, pretty rough start. And Seattle, one of the teams that was predicted to be at the bottom of the standings in the last 10 games, 14 points. That's really, really dang good. And as you can see, starting to fill this out a little bit, so we'll start seeing this go that way into the future. And I believe that's all we've got for the standings. So let's move over to our scoring and goaltending, as well as our team stats. Let's zoom this out so that we can get all 25. Yeah, I guess that'll have to work. Sebastian Aho's kind of down there, but Connor McDavid at the top for goals this all the 5 weeks combined, not for just this last week. Connor McDavid with 15. Bo Horvat. I feel bad for Bo Horvat in Vancouver, not getting at all the amount of love he should for the amount of points and goals that he's putting up. He's just on a team that's not very noticeable right now. Andrei Svechnikov, Kirill Kaprizov, and Erik Karlsson rounding out the top 5. Karlsson, one of the best starts for a defenseman in NHL history. And then going down the list, we've got a bunch of people tied with 8, and then we've got Sebastian Aho down here with 7 goals. A lot of unranked people, unranked meaning they weren't ranked the previous week. That doesn't mean that they haven't been ranked before, but we do have a couple people moving up in the standings, and then obviously a couple people moving down. McDavid and Bo Horvat being the only 2 that didn't move this last week. But we have plenty of people that didn't move for assists. I wonder why this one fit, but this one didn't. Am I missing numbers? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Anyways, I'll have to take a look at that. Why one's smashed in there and one's not. Anyways, Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, Matthew Barzal and Nikita Kucherov not moving this last week. Leon Draisaitl for assists, and Nathan McKinnon tied with 18 apiece. Connor McDavid and Artemi Panarin with 16. Barzal and Kucherov with 14. Marner with 15, for these two. 14 for Marner. Bunch of people with 13, 12, and 11. And then, we've got a bunch of people unranked from this last week. So good, seeing good movement up and down the list for some people. But actually, if I take a quick look, so Jack Eichel scoring a hat trick the other day is obviously going to help him. He wasn't ranked the week previous, so that's a good example of seeing somebody move up or down drastically depending on. I mean, somebody that you're not going to see in any of these is Stamkos, Steven Stamkos. It looks like he didn't do much anything this last week comparably. I think there's a font issue. I think I have different sized fonts in here somehow, and that's why. Because this one you fit in, but this one does not. Very, very strange. Anyways, that's just OCD running wild. The top 4 did not change for points this last week. Now, one thing I'm going to point out, this is exactly why I have games played on here. 15 games played, 31 points for 2 point something. 2 and 1/15 points per game for Connor McDavid. Leon Draisaitl 27, David Pastrnak 22, and Erik Karlsson with 21. Everybody else with 21 points. Moving up in the list, we've got Kucherov, McKinnon, Panarin, and Robertson. And then somebody that wasn't in the top 25 for either of the first 2, somehow Sidney Crosby with 16 points with only 6 and 10 somehow makes it into the top 25 this week. Very interesting to see him there, despite the fact that he was not in the top 25 for goals or assists this last week. So definitely a lot of up and down movement going on in the middle here. But it seems like we've got some runaways going on here at the top of the points list. Now, if we do a quick scroll up, there we go, into our goalies. We've also got some good movement going on in the goalie category as well. We've got Jake Ottinger, Linus Ullmark, Connor Hellebuck, Carter Hart, Ilya Sorokin for goals against average, doing very well in that top 5 there. 3 of them being under 2 goals against per game. Jake Ottinger being the only one that has not moved. He has been very, very consistent. If you look at the last couple weeks, he only moved up 1 from, and then after that first week, he moved up, Jake Ottinger moved up quite a bit. Obviously moved up 1 in week 3, week 4, and week 5. He has not moved out of that first place spot. Linus Ullmark trying to do his best to slay the beast that is Jake Ottinger with Dallas. Obviously, one of the big stories for goaltending is the fact that Vegas pretty consistently has 2 goalies in the top 10. I don't know if there's been a week where they didn't have a goalie in the top 10. I mean, even having them both at the top, at the top of the top there's not been a week where Vegas didn't have one. Now, the one big story of this last week when it comes to goalies is that Ville Husso, who jumped up in last week's rankings. Sorry, my brain was not rolling there for a second. Ville Husso jumping up with 1 shutout. He did get another shutout this week, but he let in 8 goals the other night against the Rangers, plummeting him down the stats despite the fact that he has 2 shutouts so far. But there are a couple other goalies in here that have Connor Hellebuck and Logan Thompson, who have had two shutouts so far this season, and then for saves percentage, Carter Hart at the top there, Connor Hellebuck, Ilya Sorokin, Linus Ullmark, and Jake Ottinger rounding out the top 5, and then you've got everybody else. Logan Thompson doing very, very well despite being an undrafted goalie, I would say. Going down to our team stats, we've got points 4. We've got Edmonton 152 and Vegas at 152, Buffalo 147, LA with 141, and Boston with 140 to round up the top 5. Not in hitting the 100 point mark yet. Calgary, Philadelphia, Chicago, Columbus, and St. Louis. 2 of those teams going up in the rankings, 2 going down, and 1 staying right where they're at the bottom is St. Louis. Now, the one thing that I will point out is the fact that Edmonton, despite the fact that they have put in 152 points, they unfortunately are not doing great at keeping the points out of their net. The goals out of their nets and the points off the board, however you want to say that. Because for points against, we have a bunch of teams, 6 teams that have not hit 100 points against: Winnipeg, Boston, Philadelphia, Colorado, Vegas, and New York Islanders. And then at the bottom there, almost hit 20 points away from allowing 200 points is Anaheim, staying at the bottom there of the allowed points. Vancouver, San Jose, Edmonton, and Columbus rounding out that bottom 5, I should say. And see, that's one of the reasons why it's very difficult for me to give as much praise as I do to somebody like Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. If you take a look at week 5 specifically, Leon and Connor for goals, Leon and Connor for assists, Leon and Connor for points. I'm just double checking, and Zach Hyman as well in the top Yeah, for points in the top 20, he's at 19. Somehow they are losing despite the fact that they have 3 players in the top 20 at least in points this year so far. 17, 27, and 31 points. So quick math, 14, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 75 of their 152 points are from 3 players. 75 points of their 152 points are from 3 players from Edmonton. The issue being with Edmonton is clearly either their defense or because the problem with Edmonton being that they have to score, like at the very least they have to score like 5 goals in order to win a game because their goaltending is so bad. So that might be something we can take a look at is seeing the teams that are at the top, seeing if there's other teams that are in the top 10 and the bottom 10 here for goals, points allowed and points taken. Like it's very difficult to see Edmonton in the spot they are, despite the fact that they're doing so well on offense. They are on the exact same pace that Vegas is. The difference being Vegas is at the very top of the standings, and Edmonton, if we take a quick look, being at 15th, 8-7-0, dropping 8 spots just in the last week. So they've clearly got a goalie problem there in Edmonton. Vegas clearly does not. Vegas being at the very least every week being in the top 10 for 2 of their goalies, and in the top 2 for their goals for, surprisingly only being 5th for their points against, despite having such good goaltending. So yeah, let's bring this back over to keep forgetting to do that. Bring it back over to me. Unfortunately, you have to look at my face again. So this week we have introduced the top 10. We're starting to pull some of these numbers together between points for and points against, and mushing that all in with where people are in the rankings and all that kind of stuff. I will try my best to look out for some more newsworthy story stuff. We did have 2 Montreal players get banned for the exact same boarding call, boarding somebody into the half wall in front of the benches. I'm trying to remember who it was that it happened to the first time, but I know it happened to Detroit the second time. The fact that a player can get suspended 2 games for injuring another player, despite that other player being out for several months, is ridiculous. Something needs to be looked at there. I'm not saying that you need to suspend that person for the entire time that the other person that they hurt is out for. Some people are saying that, and I'm not gonna say they're wrong, but something definitely needs to change when it comes to maybe they should pay for their medical bill. How about that? If you injure a player, you got to pay for their medical bill. That would be something interesting to look at. Either stay out for the entire time that they're out, or pay their medical bill, or 50-50. How about something like that? But either way, something's got to change. I'm I'm going to say that's about it I got for you guys today. If you're enjoying this, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're enjoying the show, or if you're not enjoying the show, please put stuff in the comments. Let me know what you guys like, what you don't like. If there's anything that you would like for me to add. If you've got any JMO episodes that you're interested in, and any other random stuff you want to tell me. With that, I will bid you adieu and say I will see you guys again soon.